And to screw it up less next time, although we can't possibly screw it up as badly as the city is screwing this up. And still a decent intro. And welcome to the This Week in Worcester podcast. It is July. This is being recorded on July 27th. We are live on the social medias, the Facebook, the Twitter. Yes, it is, and will always be called Twitter, YouTube, and the Twitch.
And the Twitch. We're on the Twitch now.
I am.
How do I get it?
I am. Tom Marino, editor of This Week in Worcester. This is Mr. John Edward Keogh. He is valued. What did you call yourself? You have a new title that you gave yourself, and I liked it.
Was it regular contributor or something?
Featured contributor, maybe you used something. He's a contributor to This Week in Worcester. He is president of Hollywood Film Group. He is executive producer of Minnie J Media. He has other titles, but I'm tired.
Oh, did you get tired saying stuff about me? I
get tired of listing your titles. It's just too much.
I finally made it, Ma. I made it.
What is going on, sir? How was your week? I understand that you did some filming this week.
We finished filming late last week, but then now we've been we're in the edit bay, so we're digging into the movie. Today we had a pretty good session of editing, and with Leanne and Tommy. So we did a bunch of cool stuff, kind of getting the documentary, because it's a 3-part documentary, and so we have to make part 1, submit it to the client, which is the Last Call Foundation, and then if they like it, they will help us get to stage 2 and 3. So it's kind of it's a cool thing to do. So today we had it's about, editing is weird. It's like getting the tone of a movie. You know what I mean? Like the tonality, and then once you get that, then you can build all the other stuff. So Tommy is focused on doing that. So we did that this week. We also released the teaser trailer for Old Friends, the movie we did with Alison Rothwell back in May, and that did really well on the old Instagram, on the gram, as the kids say. You know what I mean? On the maybe they say G-ram now, or maybe I'm starting something new, right? Starting something excellent. I'm trying to get the Twitch thing to work.
It works.
I know. I gotta get on there. Oh yeah. Right. Twitch chat, baby. Twitch chat. How do I say things? Twitch.
Are you twitched in?
Yeah, look at it. It connects over here. So now, oh man, I can watch like 5 different apps all at the same time. I don't even know what to say. Everybody on the chat is looking at me like, what is wrong with this man? I don't know. I'm weird. I'm strange. Did you guys all? Everybody in the chat, you guys all like my my Snoopy shirt? Let's see if they like my Snoopy shirt.
No comments. I love it. The silence is deafening, and that's as it should be. So we are back to Eureka Street, as some things happened this week. There were arraignments of City Councilor Atal Haji on charges of assault and battery on a police officer and interfering with police, which are both misdemeanors. Ashley Spring was arraigned, but not for the felony charge that was submitted by, I believe, the Worcester Police Department to the district attorney. District Attorney Joe Early recused himself. This is being handled by the Northwest DA. And that district attorney's office decided that they were going to drop the felony charges on Ashley Spring this week, which is good. Fred, I don't know. What's to be determined. Yelling isn't something that I choose to do. It just kind of happens. So Ashley will not be facing the felony charge. She's also, I think, got the same charges, A and B on a police officer and interference.
She's in district court now, so no more superior court. They're both in district court.
Right. And both pleaded not guilty to all charges.
Yeah.
Patel spoke after actually both, the attorney for Ashley Spring and Counsel Haji spoke after their separate arraignments. They're not being tried together. It was unfortunate that's happening at all, but I guess it went as well as it could have gone for arraignment day, because nothing happens on arraignment day. You just say not guilty and then you go home.
No, I mean, normally, it's normally you just get a date, right? 90% of the time it's just a date. It's not these conversations. There was definitely the sense that you got was that the DA was told to try to get plea deals, right, to try to see if they would plead guilty. And I think that both attorneys, I just don't think that they expected it to, I think a lot of people think that people just capitulate in this scenario. But it's based on a complete disconnect from reality. It's really, really, truly based on a disconnect. In a normal circumstances, and I'm convinced of this. We talked about this off air a couple times. If this was not an election year, Tom, I don't believe any charges would have been filed at all. I think it is an accumulation of the season that we've been through, these 2 years, where the police have been under duress in the public eye, and it leads to we need to get a win. And the fact is that it's not a win, by the way, if you convict 2 moms of kids of some crimes, and then that are kind of wishy-washy in general, right? So we've all seen the videos. And by the way, thank God for all of the people who came to that day that recorded their own videos. Right. So we have angles upon angles upon angles of this stuff that have been saved now and have been provided to the lawyers of these 2 women, different angles, different shots, different approaches, because there's still this, if you go on Worcester Twitter, not Worcester Twitter, Worcester Reddit, right? I don't know if we can do I was just throwing something in the chat. So I remember it. If you go on Worcester Reddit, there's a series of people who are just making stuff up on the Reddit channels. And if you didn't have the videos of people's cell phones and that went that day, those people on Reddit would be winning, right? They'd be winning the battle of public opinion. And that's definitely what it is. It's a battle of public opinion.
Yep.
But it's all predicated on something, Tom, that I find remarkable. And that is that they seem to believe that they're going to win out in the end. With the felony being dismissed against Ashley, there is no chance of a significant sentence. None. It's out the window, right? So the worst case scenario that anybody can get in this thing would be 2.5 years in the county jail, right? And both of these folks are first-time offenders, right? So they would never receive a sentence of 2.5 years unless it was someone had been seriously injured. Normally, the sentence is related to the results, right? Mm-hmm. So you would have to have a serious injury. It's not based on intent. I know most people on our Worcester Facebook and everywhere, they love to argue intent, but in this case, you had crimes that they're being accused of that had no victims. no significant harm was done in any capacity, no matter how you view the videos, even if you view the videos in the worst possible light, which the police department and the the administration took that as have taken that tack, and they haven't walked it back, right? It's just the same exact thing. If you go back to the police statement on that day, or literally the night of, right? So late in the day, it's not an alleged anything. It's just a series of statements that the police are asserting are facts against Ashley. And then the following day, obviously, the police unions, in particular Tom Duffy, went on the attack against Council Hajjaj and created another series of accusations that they assert are factual. And then, of course, you and I have been involved in the reporting on those conversations with the police department ongoing. So what you have here is a significant bet that all these charges would result in like guilty findings, right? That that the courts would throw the book at him, Dano, right? Like that kind of deal. And the result has been no, because the evidence as it comes out, and again, we were lucky that we had evidence already because people took those videos that day. But as the police body camera footage has been released, there's been no evidence that I've seen, Tom, and I've watched all these videos multiple times, and then I've watched them in context of you telling me about them, and I've watched them in context of Worcester Reddit and Facebook and all these other places, and someone stopping it at one point and then forwarding it to another. A lot of Jose Rivera voters out there, telling me to look at this person's video from 11/39/43 to 11 to see the assault that was committed, and I've yet to see it. And so this goes back to my long-term argument now against the communications team from the administration. And by the way, City Manager Batista has now publicly and in multiple conversations said that he approves all the press releases. So they go through him. Right. So all those statements are really reflective of his administration and his management. Right. And he at least is wrong on this day of several things. One, Ashley Spring, the felony charges were dismissed. In the one of the parts was they had claimed it was an unknown substance. We have the video showing that that's not true. That officers knew that it was water the whole time. That series of things turns out to be completely and utterly false. Like completely and utterly false. Yet those statements remain on the social media pages, and then of course on the actual city website. If you go to the press releases, you can do it right now, go to worcester.gov and search the communications from the administration and just click on the press releases for that day. You can actually search them by date, and you will find that that statement still remains unknown liquid, even though every officer on the scene, the officer who said that the water was thrown at him, all the other officers that are on the police report that agreed with that statement, every single one of them said water. Water, 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 water. The supervisors at the scene, water. The captains at the scene, water. So who in that realm, right? The communications department of the police and the communications of the city manager made the determination to release a statement that said unknown liquid, and then argue back to Tom and I and everybody else that there's not an intention to frame an argument. That's not evidence, Tom. That's not fact finding. That's just outright lying about something that's innocuous in nature, right? Innocuous. And then you approach the same thing and you just look at the facts on the ground. Those officers are having a conversation around a baby bottle. And they all say water, and yet somehow from that moment there was dishonesty that entered into the Worcester Police Department's communication with the public. There is no explanation from the chief of police, Tom. There is no explanation from the administration of our city. They determined to lie. We have, and now we've been going over this now, series of lies from the communications department, even though Matt Moore, director of communications, went on the Hank Stoll show and said he's the most honest man in the history of the world. They only tell the truth over there. We have consistently proven that they lie constantly about nonsense. And it's not about policy in this case, Tom. It's not about politics. It's not about left, right, up, down, inside out, up, down. Boy, you turn me inside. I don't know why that just popped into my mind. But anyways, that is exactly what we're trying to do. It does have to do with it, Fred, and the court disagreed with you. The court determined that no felony was present. There was no evidence of that specific felony. The felony assault with a weapon was dismissed by the prosecutors. That is a fact. That we have that as a fact. So legally speaking, Tom and Fred, since he's putting this in the chat, legally speaking, the district attorney's office that is handling this case determined that there was no evidence to support that charge.
I just want to go back for a second. I don't really think it's a gamble for, specifically the one police union that's pushing this hard. I don't really think it is a gamble, because even if they're acquitted of everything, then they just go on the same tirade they always go on about judges.
Right.
Or they just let them out. I do want to answer Fred's question, though, however, it was a little bit back. Well, I'll answer it this way. I know, I'm not sure what would happen in that situation, because that situation was insanity. But I do know that if I ever enabled somebody detained for questioning and a potential suspect in a gun crime, and I enabled them to escape that legal detention, I would absolutely be charged with aiding and abetting a conspiracy after that fact, and maybe both. But for the very same person that went out in the media, see, I'm getting loud, Fred. The very same media that went out in the very same person that went out in the media and went on a public campaign for these files to be charged, as part of what appears to be a broader strategy of applying pressure from multiple different angles to make sure that these charges happen. I'd absolutely go to jail if I help somebody escape detention. But that's not the case for the very same person who was out in the media crowing about how charges need to be filed about this. And if that person did this, they wouldn't go to jail either, because they don't file charges against their own unless it's a 30-year-old black kid for allegedly stealing detail time.
Dude, that is the biggest point of all. We have a literal report from a federal agency that has a series of things that the police agree with that they did, including falsifying police reports. And not one of them, not one, not once, not ever, in that report, in any of those incidents, did those officers get charged with a crime. Not one. And that is a massively important statement, is that you are making a decision. In this case, we'll use Freddie. We're just going to blame Freddie for everything. In this case, you're making a decision to reject objective reality. We have proof. This is not a subjective reasoning situation where we can be like, it's an opinion, it's not an opinion. No. The chief of police admitted at city council that multiple of his officers appear on the Brady list. He was the first police chief in Worcester's history to even acknowledge that the list existed. Credit to him. He admitted that. And he admitted there are multiple officers and that some of those cases are related to the cases on the district DOJ report. He said it. Go back and listen to it. He said it. And I credit him for that. That is the most transparency in the history of the Worcester Police Department.
Fact.
The most transparency ever. Fact. He's the most How about this, Tom? Breaking news. Right here on the This Week in Worcester podcast, live from Worcester. Paul Saucier is the most transparent chief of police in the history of the city of Worcester. I said it live. Headlines everywhere. John Everkio says that about Paul, because it's true. So you take those reports, and if you and I were to file a false police report now, And here's the thing, Tom, you can actually go to public records. People have been charged with lying on police reports in our city, but not officers. So there is a double standard. So the fact that people argue that if I were to do this in this crowd, I will point out to you David Webb, right? And I don't want to, bring everything about, David into this this chat, but David was there, and he was doing David things, and he there was at least one video where he touched two officers in his, kind of moving around, and he was not charged. So we have, and it was very similar to the contact that we see with the two women that were charged, and that is incidental. It's kind of a angry, emotional place, right? You can literally see this happen. And not only that, I will point out to you, ladies and gentlemen, that there are other people at the scene who also touch and bump into and jostle with both the officers and ICE in this kind of wild crowd, particularly after the police officers showed up who escalated the scene. They were touching and pushing and shoving and all that stuff. None of them got charged. The only two people that got charged were sitting city councilor Etel Hajiaj and school candidate, at the time, school committee candidate, Ashley Spring, both of whom happen to be candidates who have asked for police accountability. Is there a connection that could be made there? There were dozens and dozens of people there, Tom, who also bumped into or were pushed into or arms were flailed in the direction of Worcester police officers. We can see it on the cameras. And not one of them was charged. In fact, the third person who was charged was a teenager who was charged for being slammed on the ground. That's what she was charged for. And then those charges were dropped. So far, we've had 3 people charged. Teenager, charges dropped immediately because they knew that there's zero chance that case would ever stick ever, because it was complete and utter nonsense on the day of. We had a felony charge dropped, right, against Ms. Spring. Now we have 2 cases that are moving along in district court. And then, Tom, don't you know, Tom, that there is another charge related to this incident that was also dropped?
Interesting, isn't it?
So I put it in the chat because I want to make sure I say her name right. But the woman who was the violent, illegal alien criminal, that woman that this whole thing was related to. So Roseanne Ferreira de Oliveira. I think I'm saying that right. I hope I said it right. I'm trying to be good at pronouncing that. She was charged, and it was the excuse that the ICE put out in a press release on the next day. She was charged with assault and battery against a pregnant woman, if you remember. Assault and battery against a pregnant woman. We all heard violent assault. We heard the city manager on Rosanna. We heard multiple city councilors point this out, Tom. A bunch of people, and of course, our favorite friend of the podcast, Thomas Duffy, the second. Junior. I forget.
He's the second in his mind.
It never been at a riot in his life. Never, not once.
Nope.
He pointed out that she was a violent person that had, and it turns out, assaulted her daughter with a cell phone charging cable. And that case was dismissed earlier this week.
Yep.
For lack of evidence.
Yep. But yet now, because she was just accused of a crime that was then dropped, she's now, because the federal administration is only going after, of course, violent criminals.
Violent criminals.
Yeah, even though she has now no charges against her.
Now, Tom, I want to point something, and I'm going to expand upon this in a column for the esteemed publication This Week in Worcester. You will see this. You will see this article this week. In this case, the arraignment for the second hearing that this person was Rosanna was going to was actually on the Tuesday following the Thursday, May 8th. So May 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, May 13th, she had a hearing that she was going to go to. So this entire operation, 8 various federal agents of various kinds, dozens of Worcester police officers, extreme fear, extreme emotional agitation, multiple sets of charges filed, could have been avoided with one court hearing on May 13th. Now, the argument of the people that support this, no matter what, and it doesn't matter what evidence we present, folks, they will always say that ICE was correct to do what they did and that the Worcester Police Department was correct to do it. They will never, ever, ever disagree with you. But for those of you who are listening, for those of you who are paying attention, she had gone to court every time. There is zero evidence of any kind that she was a flight risk, of any kind. So despite her being an illegal alien, supposedly, despite her being here illegally, supposedly, she was going to court, Tom. She was going to court. She had an attorney hired already before this day. And then this happened. And all of this nonsense could have been prevented with just waiting till Tuesday.
And that's criminal court, obviously, for this charge. But I mean, in general, if you look at studies on this, those that are in the country that are, have appointments with immigration judges and such, they show up for their appointments because they don't want to be unlawful. They want to pursue, getting their stuff in order and being in the country legally. So when people have court dates, they generally show up to them. This idea, our dear leader said this, I think, in his first cycle when he was elected. They never show up to court. They just don't show up to court. Why is there a backlog of 5,000 cases if nobody shows up? Not 5,000 nobody pull up. But why is there a forever backlog in immigration cases if nobody shows up to their cases? Because they do.
They do.
It's I remember there was a study at the time. This is now some years ago. Must be 2016-ish, 2015. Where I think the number was 80% plus show up. 80% of hearings are attended by the subject of those hearings. So, this idea that people just blow off court has no basis in reality.
Yeah, and it's complete and utter nonsense. We know that it's complete and utter nonsense. And again, people will. It doesn't matter, Fred, about that. That does not matter. What matters is that they do what they did. Would it be safe to show up now?
Well, people are getting picked up at immigration hearings all the time.
People are getting picked up at immigration hearings. But in this particular case, this woman had already attended 2 separate court hearings on a criminal case where she is, and remember, the entire argument is that she is an illegal, violent criminal alien that is about to flee in some capacity. But all the evidence that we have, in its totality, you can actually point out that everything she did was indicative of a person who was trying to follow the law. She showed up when her daughter called her from a locked car where she was kidnapped under the statutes of Massachusetts and federally, where she had been kidnapped illegally by ICE and held against her will. She came down to the scene. There is zero evidence of any kind that this person was going to flee. Zero evidence. They had just gone to court. She'd just gone to court the last week of April. The arraignment had been in February. So she went in February. Then she came to the second hearing in April where it was continued. And by the way, every indication that we have is that this case was going to be dismissed on May 13th. But it was continued only because she was arrested in this Eureka Street incident.
Yep.
Every indication was that it was going to be dismissed, and it was dismissed while she's still in custody in New Hampshire. She was in Rhode Island in the ACI. She's now in New Hampshire, according to the little I typed in the name, and you can search for the person where they are. And so she's currently being held in New Hampshire, and she has a pending status hearing. Now, Tom, another little piece about this is that she crossed the border illegally, but it turns out, Tom, she has an asylum case pending.
Isn't that ironic, don't you think?
Now, for those of you who have been following along, we know about what happens with asylum cases. So when you apply for asylum, It's different by country. So every country has literally a different set of rules. Part of the reason why our immigration system is so screwed up is that if you apply for asylum from Mexico versus if you apply for asylum from, say, South Sudan, one of the countries that we're sending people to now, there's actually a different waiting period for your application to be processed. Okay. This young woman had applied from Brazil. So she had made an application from Brazil. Now, Brazil actually has one of the faster asylum processes because their consulate, so that's the office of their country in the United States, the consulate, the Brazilian consulate in Worcester apparently is very responsive, according to the Brazilian community of Worcester, which, by the way, there's a pretty significant amount of folks who are Brazilian who have come to Worcester from Brazil. So this woman was not someone who crossed the border illegally, Tom. She came here on a pending asylum case, which had expired its time limits. And that had nothing to do with her. She attended every hearing. That had to do, as far as we can see, all the evidence that we have accumulated at this point, there might be other stuff that I don't know, but I'm just telling you what I know right now. Everything that we know about this woman is she had a pending asylum case, and her paperwork gave her 18 months from her day of her application to be in the United States legally, and that expired. And then she had a fight with her boyfriend or her partner of some kind who got arrested the day before, and he told the police she was illegal. That is the full understanding of the case. So it was a domestic situation, guys. That's all it was. And our police department and our city manager, who have been put in place by the majority of the city council for the last however long, they bought it. They bought it, Tom. They fell for this whole entire thing, which was based on a paperwork error and a rat. Straight up. That is why we had to have an absolute fiasco, and it continues to this day. And the administration, the city manager, hi Matt Moore. I know you watched the show now. I heard about that. They are watching this show, and they know right now that they have damage control to do, because they are going to get pinned with the fact that this abject disaster is on their legacies forever. Forever. You can't walk away from this, Tom. You just can't. You can't get away from it.
And there's even another twist in the saga.
It continues.
Councillor Haji shared this over the weekend. Caroline Ferreira de Mora, 13 years old, missing since July 20th, 2025. And in the comments, I don't know if you can see it there, but in the comments, Councillor Haji says that this is Ms. Ferreira's daughter from, the daughter of the person that was arrested on Eureka Street. Has been missing since July 20th.
This is not funny
stuff.
This is not funny at all, and it's hard. So obviously her mother has been incarcerated unjustly, as we have just kind of broken down. And all of you who think that it's just, you're a jerk. I don't know what else to say. If you think that this situation is just, you're wrong. I can't imagine, John, how she feels and how she's felt since her mother was unjustly incarcerated and what she's had to go through. I don't know where she's been staying. I don't know who she's been staying with. I don't know all the details of the situation. I don't want to even try. But I can't imagine that it's been fun or easy for her in this process. As far as I understand, she's a citizen of the United States, right? And so we have a situation where a family was broken up for which is an unbelievable trauma that is hard to explain to people. I went into foster care when I was a young boy. I was taken away from my mom, and it still messes with me till this day. I can't explain it. There are things that I think, and there's things that I do that are related to be a former foster kid that makes it hard for me in a lot of different capacities. So I have to have a bunch of friends like Tom Marino who are strange like me to help me to help me move through reality. I write dark poetry, and I work with exquisite artists like Tommy J. Dwyer to work out stuff on film. But that's the only way I can express. And you guys have read my articles. I'm working those things out live in real time. And this is a young girl. She's only 13, man. And her mother, we know that her father was already gone and arrested. And now we see the same thing happen with her mom. And we know from all the facts that we know, her mother was unjustly and maybe illegally arrested, without justification, with wrong paperwork, with however it is that they did it. And she's been sitting in jail. At first, they wouldn't tell the family where she was, if you remember that. So that can't be fun. And then they shipped her from Rhode Island to New Hampshire. So now she went from one place that's hard to get to from Worcester to another place that's hard to get to from Worcester, right? And it's just difficult. So I can't imagine. And so I hope that she's okay. I hope that she's found soon, and I hope that that somebody somewhere that's out there in the world that believes in this nonsense watches the This Week in Worcester podcast and then hears that what you did was just abjectly evil, and stop it. And I mean, I don't know what else I can do other than what we've been doing, Tom, which is talk about things, facts, just the facts. The facts remain that what they have done is been showing step by step by step by step to be wrong every single time. And our administration and our police department have not colored themselves in glory in the process since Eureka Street on May
8th. They haven't covered themselves in glory since December.
And real quick, Tom, to answer a text message that just came to me, someone said, "Why do you guys keep talking about this?" Because because this is we cannot allow our administration and the officials that we elect, that we pay for with our tax dollars, to operate in this way. I don't care if they learn how to do potholes, Tom. I don't care if they learn how to get the parks open on time and fix how they turn on the pools. I don't care if they figure out the housing crisis. I don't care. If they treat people unjustly, they should not be in charge. It doesn't matter how good they do at business tax rates and residential tax rates. It doesn't matter if they fix the cable contract or they figure out how to do municipal broadband. I don't care. I care about people. And in this case, they have harmed a family irreparably. They will never be able to completely move past this. Now, hopefully there's healthy, talk. They go to therapy, whatever it is that they need to do. They go to church, whatever, man. They take walks, long walks in the park. They exercise. They do whatever they got to do to get themselves mentally and physically and spiritually in shape. Do what you got to do, people. But they should not have gone through this. This should not have happened.
Fact. Just a friendly reminder that City Council will not meet on Tuesday, the 29th, this upcoming Tuesday. We'll also not meet August 5th or August 12th. It will meet on August 19th next, and then it'll have 2 weeks off after that before it meets for 2 of the next 3 weeks, and then we have a couple holidays, and then an election. So summer schedule continues. City Council's on vacation, I guess.
I got to do my training next, 2 weeks from now. I'm going to do this time I'm going to record it. The training for, because I'm a warden this year in our election system. They gave me power, absolute power. They gave me power to be a warden. What's going on in the city? They let me be in charge of something. Who knew? So I get to go do that this year. And there's some training coming up. So I think I'm going to record the training to show people what needs to be done and how cool our election system is. Because it really is. I get it. I understand how people feel all over the country and all over the world. But there are some things about this kind of work that we do that is pretty cool and interesting. And so I'm going to try to make some content related to that and you'll hear about it. Maybe you'll even see some videos on This Week in Worcester.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Wanted to add some kind of a fun story in. This has been talked about ad nauseum, but still fun nonetheless. A water monitor lizard, which someone in Webster should not have. We're getting budget criticized over here. A water monitor lizard, what somebody in Webster should not have had. They had it. They can grow up to 6 to 8 feet long. This one's about 5 feet long, which is terrifying. Here is, I think this is an actual picture of the actual missing lizard. So it's it's a real thing. It eats all kinds of. It eats all kinds of stuff, bugs, frogs, up to turtles. Turtles can be like large. It eats turtles. And it escaped. It's
wait a second. It eats turtles?
It can eat they eat the largest thing they eat of the things they eat is turtles. It eats all kinds of
turtles?
Didn't say.
Like pet-sized turtles, like in a house? That's like the size of
I mean, if the thing can be 6 to 8 feet long, it can, bleep some stuff up, John.
Dude, that can eat a baby.
I'm saying.
That's a big lizard.
And so it's been missing for some time.
In Webster. I'm not going to Webster anytime soon. Oh, look at Tom's Facebook feed.
Yeah. Some Canada thing at the top, like I care. And the latest update here over the last couple of days was that was the 25th, so that was what, Friday?
Yeah.
Said lizard has been spotted in Thompson, Connecticut. It is an interstate lizard, officially.
Whoa. So how it got all the way to Thompson, Connecticut? Well, I mean, I guess.
Well, Webster's right next to Thompson.
Yeah, I guess
we'll just roll on. I guess it's been seen in another area of Connecticut, outside Thompson. So this thing is mega on the lam.
It's on the move. It's on the move. It's coming. So, but it's leaving. It's going away from us. So it's not trying to get Fred.
And apparently these things can really move.
Like quick. That's a little terrifying. That's terrifying.
I'm saying. It won't like colder weather. So, saw something. I read a bunch of stuff about it. That, somebody basically it seemed to insinuate, wasn't their words, but seemed to insinuate that somebody's going to find this thing on its porch trying to suck up the heat from, after a hot day or something. You're going to walk out your back door and there's going to be a 5-foot lizard chilling.
Right.
And some guy who said that, he's the lizard finder. He's like the lizard whisperer.
Yeah.
Went looking for it and said, I couldn't find it. You ain't finding it. It's gone. So this thing is on the lam. It is making a run for it.
Now, is it a boy or a girl?
I do not know. Nor do I care. It's still awesome.
What do you mean? But what if it's a girl and it's like has babies, and then we're gonna have a whole thing?
I don't explicitly know this, but I got the gist of the stuff I read that if this thing carries on, this pursuit carries on into the when it starts getting cold, that it's not going to make it. But maybe it's headed south. Maybe it knows. And this has been quite the saga in Webster and Webster as well. This is the talk of Webster, Massachusetts for some time now. So happy lizard hunting, folks. Because apparently people are out there looking for this thing. Because you'd imagine if it could, again, that seems like the biggest thing you could get to is a turtle. But you can imagine that. I don't know if it would eat a pet because it's a mammal. A turtle isn't a mammal, I don't think. So I don't know.
Probably snap a finger off real quick. I mean, if my hand's about the size of a turtle, right? So it probably could eat John's hand.
I mean, things on the run. Can't catch me if you can. So summer months, not a ton going on. I thought I'd throw that in. It's kind of a fun story. Some people are really into it.
It's a really good
Um,
story. It's a really good story.
I mean, the things crossing state lines is amazing. It's like about.
Oh. Oh wait, I got one more thing. I forgot. I got one more thing.
And lots of quote unquote exciting things happen in Webster, but we'll leave that for another day.
I forgot to put this in the chat. I forgot about this, but the city manager announcing that he's working with Madison Properties on the Polar Park thing. That was announced, like on one of the other news things. By the way, if you're not already subscribed, following This Week in Worcester on Facebook, go get yourself some subscription. We'll click on follow, like, share, put the heart, put it in your profile, and then also go to thisweekinworcester.com and click on all the stuff so we can sell it. Right? We're trying to get paid over here at This Week in Worcester, so we can continue to bring you breaking news all over the city.
Not sell the site. That's not in the cards.
Not sell the site. No, sell, like, get the clicks. Give me the clicks. And by the way, click on the ad. Click on the ad, because when you click on the ad through, Tom gets paid more. I just want to point that out. If you click through to the ad, you get paid more. So just, do a little clicky click and then close your browser and then, help us out with a little click. I was going to say, so the Madison Properties thing, again, it says that the city manager is working with Madison Properties to develop that parcel. If you remember, that parcel was the property they were supposed to develop as part of the original contract, and that they walked away from it with zero repercussions, including, apparently, Tom, they are allowed to come back and develop it again.
Well, I mean, they own it, so.
Epic communication failure breakdown over there. They don't know how to sell themselves. They don't know how to sell what they're doing. And the city manager, again, just like he was Spectrum, and now again with Madison Property, he has a free run at this company. He can say whatever he wants. He can say whatever he wants. Whatever. He can hammer Madison Properties all day long. All day long. And no one's going to be complaining, including Madison Properties, because they know that they messed up. And so it's a public relations bonanza, a free one. And he won't take the shot, Tom. He will not take the shot. He's like LeBron James, right? Wants all the glory, but he passes up on the last shot consistently, which is why nobody believes truly that LeBron is the greatest player of all time, because he's not.
True, like 10 years ago. Stop it.
He always passes the ball. He passes the ball to Kyrie and to Ray Allen. He passes the ball. And so, City Manager Batista wants to be claiming all the glory, but he's passing the ball to Madison Properties. Just kick him out of Dodge. Bring someone else in. I don't think you can.
That's the problem. I don't think you can because they own the property.
Oh, that's lame. And they suffer no consequences.
And, right. And so when this was all set up, because remember we were told the Madison Properties by the prior city manager, they were the elite of developers.
Best of the best. Never, ever do they do this thing. And it turns out, Tom, all over New England, Madison Properties has a track record of doing exactly this every single time to municipality after municipality. They get a tax benefit, they build part of the thing, and they don't finish the job. By the way, WPI, oh no, not WPI, Holy Cross, you made a deal with these guys. I hope it works out for you.
Probably will.
$7 million.
And, again, the city needs to find a way.
Yes.
When it gets these developers agreeing to develop properties and gives them, future tax benefits and all of, rolls out the red carpet and all of this, there's got to be some protection for them against them just walking away, allowing the property undeveloped to accumulate, more value and then dumping it off for another developer to do the same thing. I don't know what that mechanism is, but it seems to me like some sort of deed restriction and something in their agreement with these companies when they're giving them things, right? Because if a company just comes in and buys a piece of property, there's nothing you can do about that. But when they're going into business with these developers, essentially, there needs to be some sort of permits to build pulled by X date, or you get hit by a bolt of lightning. You know, I mean, otherwise we're just dead properties are sitting there dead, not being developed.
Another thing, well, related to that, so the city manager said this in a couple places now, where he said that since they passed the affordable housing ordinance, you know, that requires the AMI things, that there's only been 2 proposed developers to come along. And there's a reason for that, because also part of what the city has, it has these rules about how much money on hand, like cash accounts, and how much things are available for a developer to develop property in the city of Worcester, which of course limits the ability for a cooperative development or a small development that works with like 3 or 4 different companies to get things done. And so a perfect example, and something they actually can put conditions on developers, and they very much do. But one of the things that if you remember Frank McCourt, do you remember Frank McCourt there? So Frank McCourt was a big time landowner in Boston and around New England, and he had a series of parking lots. We have a couple guys like that in our city. I don't want to name their names because those are big hitters right there in the old Worcesterati. By the way, that's Illuminati connected to Worcester. Worcesterati, trademarked on the This Week in Worcester podcast right here. Worcesterati. So, anyways, t-shirts coming soon. So the Frank McCourt basically traded his parking lots to buy a share of the Dodgers back in the day. And then he was the owner of the Dodgers for a period of time, and he was truly terrible at that job. Truly terrible. The Dodgers were horrendous under his ownership. And then he sold the stake. And if I remember correctly, it was something like $100 million worth of parking lots. And then he ended up selling it for like a couple billion, right? So dude made out, losing season after losing season, he made out all kinds of money. So he leveraged it, right? But part of the reason he was able to buy the Dodgers wasn't just because of his parking lots, but he got other people involved in a cooperative development agreement, right? And we look at the Celtics back in the day, the owners that currently, Wick Grossbeck was actually his dad, Les Grossbeck, who used to own Greater Media Cable. So he got all his money off the backs of the hardworking Worcester folks here, right? They bought the Celtics with a group of people. So it was not just one. It was a bunch of different owners who owned different stakes in the team, and that's how they were able to get it done. So I know that's a sports franchise, but it's also related to this idea. Part of what the city is not opening up is for local people to develop cooperative development. So to come together with multiple people to buy a property like this one and develop it maybe in a different way. It doesn't always have to be, the exact same look. If you go look at all these buildings downtown now, they all look exactly the same. And you tell me, do they look nicer to you, Tom? Do they look nicer than the old warehouses that used to be there? Yes, they do. Polar Park looks nice, and the building across from it looks nice, and the building beside it looks nice. But they don't all have to look like that. Why not build something different? Why not try something new, right? Something unique and different. And the city just doesn't want to do that. They only want to work with certain things. That's why you see Madison Properties and Boston Capital and whichever one it is that the city manager O'Brien was attached to that was screwing people with RealPage software. So like whatever groups that they're all involved with, those are, what's the Gray Star owns the big 600 block. There can be unique things that could be done in the city. And so I just, I hope that the people that watch that think outside the box, because this again is related to this just unwillingness to move because they only want to deal with certain people, yet those certain people that screw them and have screwed the city multiple times now, they have no consequences for them in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah. Not great. Not great. Anybody have, kind of, again, no council, middle of summer, kind of a slow week, but what anybody in our chat folks, anything you think we should be taking up?
We have landlords here who will only accept tenants who are Section 8.
That could be, I don't know.
I don't know what that means exactly, because that's not necessarily true. And by the way, Section 8 just got defunded, so that's going to change in a second anyways.
Yeah. But, as we talked about last week, we're just going to sit here idle and wait for the funding bomb to go off in our face.
The Section 8 is going to be a really, really significant thing. And the time limit that you can be on housing assistance. So that's like, the state level housing buildings, that putting a time limit of 2 years on families. I don't know how that's sustainable, Tom. I just don't know how can you say to like a mother, a single mom, she has 2 kids, 3 kids, and she's living in an apartment. I mean, we're not talking about like the palatial live in the States here in the city of Worcester, folks. These are not like the best of the best buildings. These buildings are all older. They're all like World War II era buildings. Great Brook Valley. When was the last time Great Brook Valley was updated? 1954. So it's like, what are you talking about? Like, what are we saying? So you're going to tell them they can only stay there for 2 years? Well, how do you get on your feet in 2 years? I don't know. When they built the Oriole Drive project, right, which is still this big thing that is a lot of controversy there. A lot of things that are weird there. Worcester Community Housing Resources being in charge of it. There's a lot of stuff going on with that program, right? But those folks are, that's dedicated housing for families who are experiencing homelessness, right? And so that's supposed to be there. That program itself, the way that it was funded is 4 years minimum, right? Like 4 years. So if we already know in our minds that we have programming that's like 4 years, why would we then make a time limit that's only 2? I don't understand that. It doesn't make any sense. Unless the idea is that would happen within the terms of like a House of Representatives, because then it's going to get flipped back if someone changes it later on. That's the only thing I can think of, Tom, like a continuing resolution thing, which is, by the way, one of the big problems with the country: no real budgets. No real budgets. No accountability with no real budgets.
I'll bring up something national real quick, and I have a very, very short statement about it. Related to the situation our dear leader has found himself in, related to the Epstein files that were on his attorney general's desk for review that now don't exist. All I can say is
that's great. Great.
It's so funny.
It is hilarious. It's good. By the way, Tom and I, not on the Epstein list.
No.
We have not flown to the island.
I will raise my right hand and solemnly swear.
No, I mean, if you look at the list that's floating around the internet, I went and looked there, and I looked to see if our names were on there, and it's not.
No.
Not, at least not on the one on Reddit. What's that thing, 4chan, where they release all this stuff anyways? The secret stuff, they dump all the files. I went and looked at that. Also, there's some app that happened last week where the ladies rate all the dudes. It's called the T app on all the ladies' phones. Another secret app. There's this other thing too, is am I dating the same guy? Something on Facebook. We're not on there either, Tom, according to what it is. But I kind of want someone to go make a fake me on on one of those websites.
And then the development of that. Now, Trump's criminal defense attorney is, of course, now in the Department of Justice. He was just as a criminal defense attorney. That's like 8 months ago.
Yeah.
And he went to meet with the co-conspirator to Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell. Look at the right name, right? Something like that.
Yeah.
And they had a private conversation. And of course, she knows where all the bodies are buried. And so, figure of speech, where the bodies are buried. She knows all the dirty secrets. And so look for that, either commutation or pardon or something coming. Just wouldn't be surprising at this point.
By the way, I'm open to a pardon, like a preemptive pardon. I'll take one of those just to have it. You know what I mean? One of those preemptive deals. Those are nice.
Yeah. But anyway, with no one shouting in the chat. We're
gonna wrap up really early.
We are, wow. And I like it because we'll save that energy for a week where I have to yell the whole time.
That's fine. Well, I have a perfect last section for us this week.
Let's go to John's favorite part of the show.
So we know that, again, as all the longtime listeners of This Week in Worcester will tell you, they know that Tom was just telling a lie Again, another lie. It's the best and highest rating section of the show, Tom's favorite things, where I asked Tom a question about his favorite things, and it's perfect timing because obviously Ozzy Osbourne, the Prince of Darkness, died earlier this week. He was 76 years old. There's an article on This Week in Worcester. You can check it out. And I wrote a deep dive for the old fellas over at Worcester Sucks. You can check that out too. My deep dive into the Prince of Darkness. So, Tom, what is your favorite? And you can include his solo career, right? So, what is your favorite?
Why would I do that though?
Because some of his solo stuff is really good. Sabbath or solo Ozzy Osbourne song, Mr. And this is one you should know. You probably know because this is up your alley, right? It's still Sabbath action.
It's a difficult decision.
It is. There's a lot of great songs.
I mean, obviously off that first record, I mean, Iron Maiden maybe.
It's a great song, great tune. I'm a big fan. Those people in the chat, because I know everybody on our show loves Ozzy Osbourne and Black Sabbath. They're definitely big, huge fans. I know Maria's probably got a favorite Ozzy song. Well, so my favorite Ozzy song is a solo song, and it is "An Ordinary Man." That's where Elton John does a little sidecar action. It's a great tune, and it's a great tune because I like context with music. I'm a big context guy. Like, why was the person singing the song when they sang the song, and so that song in particular. So Ozzy was married once, and then obviously he got divorced and married Sharon, which everybody knows Sharon from the TV show. But that end of his first marriage was marked by infidelities, as they say in the newspapers, something he was very open about and talked about and apologized for profusely, including on the show, the thing. And that song was when she died, when his first wife died. And so there was this kind of marked attention to that album where he kind of spent time thinking about his first family, because he had two families. He had a family with this woman, 3 kids, and then obviously with Sharon, who was his manager for a long period of time. And so I find the context of that song to be good. Plus, I like the lyrics; they're very good. So go check those out. Go check out a little Ozzy this week. And yes, I know all my people who say to me, "Yeah, but your favorite band of all time is Tribe Called Quest." That is true. That is very true. But Sabbath is a great band. I don't know what else to tell you. Sabbath, Ozzy, great band, just great. So go check them out.
Let's talk about how wrong everything you just said was.
How wrong was it? Because you don't like that.
First
song?
of all, that you would pick a solo song over a Black Sabbath song's crazy, just insanity. And then you pick a song with Elton John. I mean, there's nothing wrong with Elton John. Seems like a very likable guy and a nice dude and like whatever. Nothing wrong with him. But I mean, you pick a song with Elton John?
Yeah, why not? I like a little Elton John every now and again. You know what I mean?
And third of all,
Big Road.
A track is a piece, okay? You don't even know what they were thinking or what was going on in their life. What's in the piece is what's in the piece, and you listen, and then you know what you think about it.
Yeah, so I'm a liner notes guy, dude. I mean, I like the context. You know what I mean? I'm a deep dive kind of person. So yeah,
this is like old school literary criticism. Like,
oh yeah,
I'm gonna read a book about what Poe was saying in the story. No, I'm not. I'm gonna read the story and I'm gonna decide what it means to me and how I interpret it.
That's fine, and that's exactly why our country is exactly where it is, because people love to figure out what it means to them. Trump has decided, this Constitution thing, I'm just gonna determine what it means to me.
The Constitution is not a work of art; it's a legal document. There's a difference between a piece of art.
Not according to him. Apparently, it was painted by numbers over there at the old Constitution Avenue. Maria says that he was a big fat cheater. He did cheat on both his first wife and Sharon. To quote Jesus, he or she who was without sin, throw the first stone. That's all I got to say. I'm a big fan of just being honest that we're all flawed and trying to grow. And I always appreciated Ozzy was trying to grow. That's it. I liked that. I like that about that guy. I also, I believe in Jesus myself. I'm a Christian dude. We don't talk about it a lot on the show. We try not to go into this area. I do talk about it sometimes in my writing, but I am a big believer in pointing out hypocrisy. So someone who lives and says they're holy, and then it turns out that they're like Jimmy Swaggart. I wrote about this in my piece. Sleeping with every prostitute that he could get near, while he was talking about family values. That's always fun. And by the way, whenever you hear someone say family values, immediately assume that they're probably doing something weird somewhere, because it's never a good sign. Because if you have to say it about your virtues, then you're probably not virtuous, right? Usually people who say, like, people who are like, I never lie, they're a liar, guaranteed. Guaranteed, they lie constantly. And so those are the kind of things, and I just appreciate that, because that's how I live. I try to live as a person. I know I'm flawed, and I accept my flaws, and I try to do better. That's part of the reason why, by the way, I joined the This Week in Worcester podcast. Because, Tom, what is the call sign, the sign out for the This Week in Worcester podcast? What do you say every week at the end?
We'll try to screw it up less next time.
That's right. So it's all about trying to get better. So you can, if you say you're perfect, you're not. If you're trying to get better, I like you.
Continuous improvement and all that. Anything else, good sir? Anything else from anybody in the chat besides Maria?
I just want to say nobody mentioned Snoopy. Not one of you mentioned Snoopy this whole time. I'm very disappointed in you, chat. You need to get better next week. You need to spend the whole week thinking about it, reflecting on your sin, and think about the fact that you did not look at Snoopy. Look at this guy. Look, wait. Oh, this way. I couldn't get it to do it in the mirror. I didn't know where I was going. Snoopy.
I got very politely harangued on Twitter to get the podcast up on the feeds more quickly. So you can get we're very up to date on Spotify. I haven't done that. It's fairly easy, but I haven't kind of gotten the other podcasting sites done yet. But it is up on Spotify if you want the audio only version, and I can guarantee to you, Fred, without a question, if you are uncertain about everything in your world, there is one thing you can be certain of, is that there will absolutely be more screw-ups.
First, fact, I'll probably screw it up between now and the end of the show, and the show's ending in like a minute.
So we will be back next week, 8:30. I hope everyone has a great week. Be mad at things and fight them. Don't get arrested for it, though. And enjoy the fight while it happens. And we will attempt to, didn't I just say this? Screw up less next week.
Register to vote. Register. It's easy. Do it.
And then after registration's over, then we'll yell at you to vote.
And then vote. Pick a person. Pick a person.
You can pick 6 of them even.